Welcome back. You're watching the Daily Reports, the Insight here, and we continue pace with the conversation. But I'll be remiss if I don't read a tweet here or from X. This is Onesimus Kemal, who's saying he's tuned in to listen to the candid conversation. As a millennial youth leader and opinion shaper, I can confidently say that the president's apology to Gen Zs in particular was dishonest. Apologies without changed behavior is manipulation. That is what Onesimus Kemal is saying here on social media. And of course, this is reflecting what the president pronounced today, where he was proffering an olive leaf to the Gen Zs on the atrocities that was meted on them last year during the protest. So, Jennifer Shamala, good to see you. It's been a while.
Yes, I know, but it's wonderful to be in this fantastic new studio.
Wonderful studio.
First time to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
All right, this is your maiden appearance as well.
It is. It is.
Welcome.
Yes,
A hearty welcome to you.
Thank you.
Yes.
I want to start by thanking Senator Onyonka for his comments about this prayer breakfast moment today.
Yes.
Prayer is a very personal, private thing with you and your maker. And to turn it into, and the first thing you do, and I did not hear it at that prayer breakfast, when you go before the throne of Elohim, Allah, Elohim, I call him in his Hebrew name, Allah, whatever, the first thing you do is you ask for forgiveness, which came at the tail end, I noted, you know?
Yes.
It was more of a political event. So this taking of religion and turning it and bringing a foreigner, and we're not discussing the very intricate political subtle dimensions of this foreigner who was clearly an American. If you know the Africa Command was here today, you know what the Africa Command is. The Americans have various commands. The commands that have that protect their interests in various areas of the world, the Indian Ocean, Africa, Europe, etc., etc. So if you were to read that through as a lawyer, a politician, and a political scientist, you'd have seen a lot of undercurrents in that what was supposed to be a prayer breakfast today. The second thing about it is, it's not enough to say, we are really sorry about the Gen Z. Where are the reparations? Where is the report? Who was responsible?
Yes.
How will we know that this will never occur again? We saw children being slaughtered. Going to a prayer breakfast and not even asking for forgiveness. Where is the truth, justice, and what happened that day? We know these are the pertinent questions we're asking ourselves. And the third most important thing, we saw another prayer breakfast within the region and the issue of Madam Suluhu, and we're not discussing this very, very sensitive international relations issues. Africa Command was in West Africa last week, where there's rumors of a coup or not a coup in Côte d'Ivoire. You know, there's issues of instability in this region, and we understand them, and I don't want to bring them here because I'm not an international relations expert. And these are the more pertinent underground issues that are subtly being converted to soft issues of Gen Zs and prayer breakfast when they're heavier issues. Who was that pastor? He was an American pastor. How come it was not a Bulgarian pastor, a Chinese Christian pastor?
But aren't we reading too much into it? Because I think they've been inviting, foreign religious...
No, I'm not reading. I don't think so.
And it's not the first time that we've not had...
record this recording today and keep it. Are you following what is going on in West Africa? Has there been a coup or not a coup in Côte d'Ivoire? Because nobody seems to know as we speak. Are you following that Africa Command? You know the Americans have their areas of commands around the globe. Was in West Africa, and they're here at the moment. So we're not reading too much. At least I'm not reading too much into things. We cannot sit as we are not a small little island. I don't know where, somewhere in the Pacific. We are an anchor state. Kenya is an anchor state. Nigeria is an anchor state. Egypt is an anchor state. South Africa is an anchor state. So all these very subtle forms of prayer breakfast are more than meets the eye.
Right. Of course, it is more than meets the eye. We'll delve deeper into it. Could I just also break some news here that is filtering into a studio Right now, we have Kenyan author and East Africa's top novelist, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, has died in the U.S. after a long illness. His family confirmed this. This is what is breaking right now. Kenyan author and East Africa's top novelist, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, has died in the U.S. after a long illness. His family has confirmed this. And of course, we know tribulations around his exile, and now tributes will be flowing to just condole with the family right now. Our deepest sympathy and sincere condolences. This is shocking as well, knowing that he has been a bulwark of fighting for freedom of expressions as well, even in space that is being constrained right now.
That's very true. I happen to be extremely lucky that I have a son of mine who's about 12 years old, and he's in the US, and about 2 months ago he was with Ngugi. So my son called me and he was asking me, what should I tell him? Because I don't know much about him, So I would tell him there's a book called River Between, A Grain of Wheat. You had, which other one? There was so much that Ngugi did. And I was very, very fortunate to be in the University of Nairobi at that time. And we were running through, I think, Kabando, you remember. I remember. From the time when his play was stopped in Limuru, then the constant harassment and frustration. And it wasn't just from one leadership. Ngugi talked about capitalism and what this capitalism has been. How we got ourselves to be colonized, and after that, what did we do in the liberation struggle? Ngugi writes about Dedan Kimathi. And the unfortunate thing, I think...
There was a Petals of Blood as well, yeah?
Yes, Petals of Blood, which was a big volume, extremely controversial, but a beautiful book. Yes, and my point is that this is what saddens me about my country right now in my space, that the excellence that has been portrayed, that the Michere Mugos, the Ngugi wa Thiong'os, even though he wasn't Kenyan, or Kot Bitek. People who made their life in Kenya, people who discussed the socioeconomic welfare issues of Kenya when nobody was willing to touch them, because at that time, power was so centralized. So to even talk about President Kenyatta or talk about Moi after that was a very difficult thing. And yet, in reality, these are the heroes that are now passing on, and maybe I haven't looked at what the syllabus in Kenya is all about now. I'm sure you might find none of those books are in the syllabus. Why, Kabando? Because nobody wants to know how the Mau Mau struggle was won.
Exactly.
Nobody wants to understand what Kenya is in reality. Who have we been? Who have been our greats? Everything right now is transient. When I look at and discuss the things that are happening to our country, whatever we do, it is a quick fix, quick bit, quick that. And so for me, it's yes, a heartbreak. Ngugi has passed on, but he's one of the greatest African writers, not even Kenyan writers. And I think if he was maybe in a different country, people would have done a mausoleum for him, an incredible library. And instead of building these buildings we build with 19 bedrooms where we steal public money and buy helicopters and that kind of nonsense. And for me, it is such an irony when you understand the books of Ngugi. What was he talking about? Land the land adjudication system. How land has unfairly been allocated, disallocated, how communities have been disenfranchised, the historical injustices on land. And yet, 60-something years, we have not sorted out the mess. So, shouldn't we go back to our software and begin to recalibrate? My argument and my feeling is that we now need to take a different direction for our country. The injustices that Ngugi was talking about, whether it was discrimination against women, these are topics he raised in his books. Indeed. Or it was about corruption. Petals of Blood was a book about corruption, about grabbing public land, where individuals basically become wealthier than their imagination. Isn't that the same thing happening today, Dibal? Yes. So I am in that space right now. And I keep pleading to Kenyans that let us begin to rethink with where the young Kenyans are, because the young Kenyans need guidance from some of us who are older.
Indeed.
So they need more inputting without necessarily loading it over them. That we must begin to reconfigure this country so that the country becomes a country of rule of law, so that we set out all the mess we have with our land tenure system.
Yes.
We can't do spatial planning. I mean, today if you sit with your phone, Honorable Kabando and Madam Shamala, you know this, Rwanda did spatial planning for their land 9 years ago. Who was doing it? Kenyans. You sit on your phone and you type in a name and the title deed comes and you see even the development going. So we are unable to do that. Why? Because some people are so scared for the public to know how much land they have stolen. And we are saying, no, you can keep the land you have stolen. We don't care about it. Pray that some crazy guy doesn't come and take over, because you're going to return all that land that you're stealing. Because we want a country that has got good manners. We want a country where we lift each other, where we pick our most vulnerable and take it. What was Ngugi talking about? Same.
Right. It seems that history is cyclical, right? What goes around comes around. We're still grappling with the same issues of corruption. How could we stanch the flow of corruption in the country as well? We'll, of course, continue with the conversation with our guests. But President William Ruto